Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Tricked Before. We're back. We're still on Voyager. This is projections. Projections on It's All Been Tricked Before. I'm going to project something on you. Hey, become a Patreon member. Patreon.com/IBD. Very easy to do. If you're going to project us more places, you're going to project yourself more places. You get all the bonus content. You can see us projected. You can see the video. You also get all the bonus stuff from the mothership. It's all been done radio hour. Patreon.com/IBD. Now, we're talking projections on It's All Been Tricked Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trekked Before. Your skeleton crew is here.
This is Stephen.
Olivia James, we're here to talk about the episode Projections, First Impressions.
You know, immediately it fell into the category I don't like. It's a holodeck episode. There's some kind of mystery. I know right away whatever they're saying is not what's going on. I wrote down another Home Alone episode, ? But, and it turned out like some of the other holodeck episodes that I didn't like as much. I feel like every holodeck episode, the big ones like Dixon Hill, is that our detective, Picard detective? And some of those I thought always ended up with very thought-provoking. The whole Moriarty one I thought was like, oh, okay, you got me. Then there's some that don't work that much, and that's where I feel like this one ends up falling into for me. But I also think at the end there are some interesting thoughts in there. And also Picardo, again, we talked last week about Chakotay maybe not getting a great episode. I feel like, and obviously, we like Picardo as an actor, period. And we like this character. So spending all this time with him, and also as the actor, Picardo, it's the thing we talked about a lot with Shatner in A Bad Way, season 3, and really lots of times Patrick Stewart. They both would work hard in different ways and to try and lift up not so good episodes. And I think Picardo does a great job of keeping us there, even if I wasn't as interested in the episode, but of keeping it real and committing to it and keeping me at least a little engaged. And we get our buddy Barclay back to help as well. But yeah, overall, I not surprising, I didn't love it, but I did enjoy The Good Doctor. And I did read some things about him and Barclay. I actually kind of liked their interplay for a while, even though I'm like, okay, can we get to what's really going on here? So yeah, that's my first impression.
Well, we're going to disagree on this one because I really liked it.
Yeah.
I don't mind holodeck episodes in general. I don't consider this a holodeck episode, even though it is on the holodeck, because I think it's only on the holodeck because it's the Doctor, and that's where they had to have it for him. It doesn't feel like a holodeck episode because you're on Voyager. The Barclay thing, I think it's really funny because the second Moriarty episode ended with Barclay not sure they were actually off the holodeck.
Oh, yeah. And
questioning reality. And so to bring Barclay back for this, I guess apparently the writers actually were going to get LeVar Burton. They wanted it to be Geordi LaForge. Yeah. And then somebody said, why not Barclay instead? Geordi might be too much of a distraction or whatever. And Jonathan Frakes directed this. It was old home week for Gen.
And they said, the actress said it too. They immediately hit it off and had great chemistry. And so I will say from obviously they're not the only two characters in it, but they're carrying most of it. Those parts hold up, or I shouldn't say hold up, but they at least keep things moving, I should say.
Well, I really thought they kept you guessing over which was the reality or not. I mean, there's a universe where they did an episode in the mind of Zimmerman. What made us say that can't be it is we know Voyager's real, but also Barclay showing up lends such credence that scenario could be real, at least partially, because Barclay's real and not connected to Voyager in this universe, as far as we know. I guess he helped program the MH. That's true in canon. But we didn't know that yet. And so bringing in somebody we recognize that's not part of the ship all of a sudden lends some authenticity to the plot we're seeing.
I was worried it was going to be, oh, you're so-and-so Barclay, da-da-da, and they didn't do that. We know Barclay, but he doesn't.
He's not Captain Kirk. He's not a household name recognizable.
Right, exactly.
Now, I did forget about this episode because I told you Barclay does a bunch of episodes for this series, like 6, I think. But when I looked it up, all the rest are in season 6 and 7. I thought it was more spread out than that.
Yeah.
But I do think I'm guessing, I don't know this for sure, but I'm guessing that towards the end of the series, as they were like, what should we revisit? They remembered what great a time they had with Barclay and his interactions. He gets to interact with like the whole crew, not just Picardo, because he kept like going into scenes with everybody else, you know?
Yeah.
And also, we will see Picardo play Louis Zimmerman down the road, like for real, on the show.
Oh, okay.
Which it's that whole Data thing where we're just going to have the creator play, which makes sense even more so for this than it does for Data. And they don't even have to put Picardo in loafer makeup. They just put him in a yellow uniform and you say it's Zimmerman. I think they might give him gray hair when they do that. I can't remember for sure. But yeah, because I'd forgotten that this episode existed and what the twist was, I thought that was the beginning of the longer Barclay plot, which it's obviously not, because when Barclay comes back, it's not connected to Insanity. Like, it'll be the real Barclay when he comes back. It won't be this fake Barclay. So I guess that's a little bit of a spoiler, but I can tell you, he doesn't come back as a hologram in the holodeck. He comes back as the actual character in the Alpha Quadrant. Engineer Lieutenant Reginald Barclay.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. And we'll get some other, we will have other familiar Next Gen faces as it goes on. Not as much as Barclay, but I can think of two main characters in Next Gen that'll make an appearance on Voyager, and I can think of two major original series characters that will make a appearance as well in there as themselves. So we'll get some legacy. Don't think we have any DS9 past the pilot. I think Quark and the pilot is it for DS9, but both original and Next Gen have representation down the road coming. Actually, Next Gen is quite a bit, because besides the two leads, there's Q, of course, we've mentioned is coming. So, yeah. Anyway, the beginning, Doctor wakes up. It's an empty ship. It's badly damaged. My first thought went to, and this time around, the Star Trek short treks where the Discovery is abandoned. And the guy just finds it empty. And I have to feel like when they wrote that, they must have been thinking about this and echoing this a little bit. I don't know if there's any connection with the writing, but I just have to believe you can't do that and ignore that this exists. This one was written by Braden Braga, one of our regulars. I don't think he's been involved in New Trek, so, but yeah.
Yeah, and on that note, jumping ahead a little bit, the Trek world agrees more with you than with me. This fairly highly regarded, everything I looked at. So
there was a reason they wanted to bring Barclay back later, and it's because people liked this. So, I mean, Barclay is in more episodes of Voyager than Next Gen. So, if you're thinking, they put out an action figure for each series for him. He had 2 action figures, and I do still think of him as a Next Gen character, but you could argue he's more of a Voyager character than a Next Gen character. So, but again, it's all in season 6 and 7, other than this.
Yeah,
which is bizarre because it's like 5 more episodes.
In my mind, he was late to the TNG world, but probably not that late.
I think it was season 3 he did his first appearance, but then he only did 5 appearances total, whereas he did 6 in Voyager. And he will get a cameo in one of the Next Gen films. So I guess he's done 6 and 6 if you count that, but it's just one scene in a Next Gen film. So I guess they also had planned to make him one of the main people in the episode Lower Decks of Next Gen, but decided against it because they thought it would be too distracting because you all know Barclay. So it would be like, everybody's focused on him instead of balancing out the group of unknowns. Yeah. Which makes sense. It was a smart decision. Yeah. We got a garbled Janeway saying that they were abandoning ship and the escape pods were gone. So the explanation, at least, is like plausible at that point.
I love whenever escape pods are referenced because it takes me back to Court Martial. Takes me all the way back to. I wonder if the buttons are as close together on these later versions of, well, not Enterprise, but these later ships.
A little pod being ejected and killing somebody. I did wish for an exterior shot of seeing the escape pods gone and seeing like the holes in the hull or whatever. But in this day, we were still working with models, and we just weren't ready for that yet, unfortunately. There's no life signs, but then Belana Torres shows up, which is really weird. Is that when you started to think that not all was as it seems, or did you think that from the beginning?
I thought when the hands go into the doorway, I was like, where are we going here? So I will say that intrigued me. And then it turned out to be her. Then everything she said, I was like, this is all jive. But again, but I thought it was interesting that I definitely was like, well, what is going on here? And then we're off around. And there's a lot of, and it makes sense because it is a simulation, whatever. Because we end up getting to the false construct of, well, there's only the game has to go to its conclusion, which I feel like it's happened 2 or 3 other times. Like, well, the only way to end this is to actually end the game, to solve the game. Which actually, I that was in. It's been the end of a couple TV series recently that I've watched where it's like, oh well, it turns out they're inside a game and they have to play it to the end, or that's some part of it.
That's my alternate episode was that the Barclay's explanation is true, and he does have
Oh,
to play to the end, but it takes them 7 seasons to get to the end of the game.
see, there
And
you go.
I think it changes the. I mean, I feel like that would have never. I was gonna say that would never been done in this era of television, but just a few years later, you had Alias, which every like 18 months would completely change the format of the show.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
I don't know if you ever watched Alias, but
this is the first season.
they set up like she's a spy in the CIA,
Yeah.
but then they reveal she's not really working for the CIA. The group she thinks is the CIA is bad, and so she's a double agent, and you're like,
Okay.
that's cool. And then like part way through the second season, they take down that agency, and all of a sudden she's not there anymore, and it's a totally different show. And then
Oh
like
wow.
at the end of like middle of season 3 or end of season 2, they do the same thing. They like completely change the premise again. They did it like 3 or 4 times in Alias, which was cool because the show kept changing. I think it would have been really neat here if we got if Voyager had. I could see a universe maybe where Voyager wasn't really working. That if you tie it back to the Alpha Quadrant, it also opens up more possibilities for guest stars that we'd recognize. But then like still play out the simulation. I think that could have been a cool concept,
Yeah,
but probably a little too advanced for what this was.
yeah, and well, yeah, kind of a new hard ending at the end. Like it was all a dream or it was all simulation, or whatever. But when you're talking about this, made me think of I don't know if you saw Search Party, but each season was the same set of characters, but it was supposed to be the format was different. So like season 1 was like a mystery, and then the last season was like a horror movie cannibal thing. And it took me a few episodes every season to be like, oh, this is what this season is, but it's the same characters and the same story building. I at the end I was like, oh, this is pretty genius, even though you had to kind of hang in there. The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt kind of did that too, where they changed the theme song a little bit. We're like, this is what the show is now. We did the main thing for 3 seasons. Now this is what we're doing. I think that was more than being like, we don't know what to do next, so we're doing this. So just FYI, this is what we're doing now. But I think all those are interesting choices. But yeah, to get back to my fate constructs thing. But yeah, you have to destroy the ship, and we get into a lot. And again, I call them fate constructs, and sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. But it's at least felt like, all right, here are the parameters of what has to happen. But I did like the more insistent Barclay got that you have to destroy the ship regardless of any information. That's when it's like, okay, well, we're getting closer to what's wrong and going on here.
I bought that the internal sensors were damaged. That's why Torres didn't show up when he scanned.
Yeah.
But then the tricorder not working was when I'm like, okay, there's definitely fake stuff. The crew kidnapped by the Kazon. I'm like, does it have to be the Kazon? Could it be anybody else?
Yeah.
Torres set up hollow emitters in key areas in this fantasy. I know this is probably the Doctor's fantasy, so that's just what he wishes would happen. And I like that the mess hall was included along with the bridge and engineering. And all of decks 1 through 5, so you can visit everybody's crew quarters. To me, I'm like, that's every set they use. So I kind of feel like they should have mentioned at the end of the episode that, oh, by the way, we are doing that. Like that's all rooted in.
Well, and that's what I thought.
That's not why they did. That's not where they went with it, but they could have.
So so in my mind, I thought, oh, this is what they're going to do moving forward. But
no, it's not. Okay. It's not. But doesn't it seem like it makes logical sense that that's what they're going to? I kind of feel like it's crappy that maybe this was Brennan Braga's idea of pitching it like publicly by putting it in the thing, and then they were just like, no, we're not doing it.
Well, and to your thought that it's it is kind of his dream or whatever he's been. That's I wrote that down too because I thought the whole Tess thing as his wife, which it was weird. It's weird once he wakes up, but it's also interesting when he's like, well, of course not, and she's like, oh, I thought you really appreciated me or whatever. He's like, of course I do, but not, whatever, that. And again, on that note, I had a dream about I wouldn't say erotic dream, but a making out kind of dream the other night about somebody. I'm like, whoa, somebody I haven't seen in a while. So also on top of that, it's not like I would broadcast it and be like, hey, you know, I had this weird sexual dream about you the other night. No. But oh, so I wrote down, do holographic projections dream of blonde wives? To kind of like do androids dreaming of electric sheep. So that's where I was like, okay, you got me really back in. Now we're on a different level, and then I wrote on that note, am I a holographic projection? Did I just dream I had a blonde wife? Yeah, but I'm
I
jumping
mean,
way
I'm just not relating to the fact that every male crewman seems to be in love with Cass. I know she's like young and blonde, but
see that's right.
she's too young for all of them. They
I
need
know.
to stop.
Cute.
They need to
Yeah.
knock it off. Maybe not Paris. He seems pretty young, but the rest of them.
What about
Kim?
Kim, yeah.
Yeah, we haven't seen anything of him showing interest towards her, even when they were like, yeah. They've played with him and Balana a little bit, but not that much.
Yeah.
Also, Balana would chew Kim up and spit him out if she'd eat him alive.
That way about all, but yeah.
So the doctor is moved to the bridge, and you notice he does take the second to check on a dead body before moving to Janeway, but he seems totally unaffected by there's a dead body on the bridge, not even mentioned, just kind of like, no, go to the captain.
Yeah, and when we see Janeway and she looks like she could be dead, it took me to Wrath of Khan, that simulation. Although it's a simulation, but there's actual people acting as well. So, but
in the doctor's defense, that was just Kim he stepped over without really paying attention.
Yes.
To. No, it wasn't. But it could have been. Nobody would. That would have been.
I had the same thought. I was like, is that Kim?
No, it was an extra, but it could have easily been Kim.
Yep.
For all the respect they're giving Kim or not giving him. Neelix needs help in the mess hall. That's kind of a fun sequence where he's like attacking with he dents his best saute pan, and that stain's going to take a minute to come out. I liked all that.
I started that scene with, well, it's Neelix and this is ridiculous. And then a place like, oh boy. And then I was like, you know what? I just wrote, oh, Neelix, in a good way. I ended up enjoying that sequence. Yeah.
We're past the annoying, like we were past the annoying Bashir by like early season 2 of DS9.
Yeah.
So, doctor's bleeding and pain and has a life sign. That's when you're dead. But the computer says the EMH never existed. That's where like we get another layer of the mystery that this is supposedly Dr. Lewis Zimmerman. There was a time where they considered naming this character Dr. Zimmerman. I'm glad they didn't. Okay. I'm glad they just kept the doctor. But
I thought, and I think this is around the time where Chakotay tells him, what you're perceiving as pain is really the feedback loop eradicating your memory circuits, which I thought, great euphemism. I thought it was almost poetic, and I thought it made me actually, it was like, oh, that makes sense. That is pain. It also made me think maybe that's what dementia kind of is, because there's definitely more of an emotional pain, and there is the scientific theory and thought that we are living in a simulation. So maybe that is what dementia is. It's a feedback loop eradicating our memory circuits, because once we get worn, these brains, these whatever CPUs get worn out, that's what happens. But yeah.
So they were all holograms except for the doctor, apparently, according to Barclay, who suddenly appears. Good old Dwight Schultz. We don't need to go into him because we've talked about him, and also please don't Google him because we want to continue to like him.
Do not.
And he says he's Dr. Zimmerman's assistant, which apparently he was. So that's an interesting tidbit. I don't know when he was, but he showed up kind of late in Next Gen, so maybe he worked on before. Maybe it was while the Enterprise D was crashed. We didn't see him in Generations, so maybe he was gone before Generations, even though we know he'll be on the Enterprise E in the next movie. I do like where he says, don't panic while he's panicking, which is very Barclay. So the Kess, being a real life wife.
Yeah.
Like that's when you definitely knew that it couldn't all be true, even though there's still that niggling doubt because it's Barclay. Right. And you're just like, okay, what's going on?
Yeah, she says, so you really think I'm beautiful? I was under a great deal of stress, you understand. I may have said things that are not necessarily my true feelings. Oh, then you don't think I'm beautiful. I see, then you don't really love me. Then I guess our marriage is over. This feels very relatable.
Yeah, right?
I might be a projection. Or E blank H, yeah. Anyway. Yeah, EPH.
This episode was
podcasting hologram.
This episode was actually made during season 1, which I have a hard time believing.
Oh wow.
And they just held it back to air, which It feels so early for this. Like even early season 2, I was like, this seems early. I can't believe they brought Barclay in season 1, where it intended to. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know. They mention he's 6 hours old, not 6 months. It's all in Planet Memories, and that's where you're like, okay, so obviously the whole scenario is not real. But I still kept like trying to justify it to myself, like, is this the real Barclay? I don't understand. Barclay wants him to destroy the ship, which is a bit suspicious, but it's plausible. Like I feel like they set the argument where you could really see that maybe destroying the ship is what needs to happen. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's that. How does the game end?
Yeah. I guess filming this in season 1 makes a little more sense that they were able to get, like, I assume it's the same extra back for the sickbay scene where we're back in the pilot. I didn't double check it, but I have to assume it's the same extra. I could be wrong, but I'm assuming it is because I haven't listened to Robert Duncan McNeil and Garrett Wong's podcast episode yet because they'll tell me if it's different. But it felt like the exact same scene, same extra. Paris going like, "Doctor, we need help," and I like the doctor says something about like, why would I program, or did I program Mr. Paris to be annoying? Actually, I programmed him. I modeled him after my cousin Frank. I'm like, why doesn't Barclay say I modeled him after the snot-nosed kid at the academy named Nick Lacerno? That's what I should have said.
Yeah.
Then it would have been even more believable that this was real.
They didn't want to pay that writer.
Right. Well, you don't have to pay him for the one episode, right? You don't have to pay him for the whole thing. So he deletes Paris and Kim, the doctor does, which is kind of a shocking moment. And then he tries to delete Janeway, but I was so tickled that he couldn't delete Janeway. I also really like the way the doctor is just like, yeah, I'm not going to fight with them because they're all about to be gone. So I'm just going to stay here very nonchalantly and be like, yep, they're all about to be taken away. Also that he calls the caretaker Banjo Man. I don't feel like anybody's called him that on screen. I feel like that's something a fan. If this had aired later, I would have been like, oh, they saw fans call him that online, and so they wrote it in. But at this point, like the internet wasn't a thing. They were still in season 1. I don't think it would have been a fan thing. It was probably an internal writers' room thing that they called him the Banjo Man.
Interesting.
So they destroy the holographic computer, but Barclay is still projected there because he is from the holodeck, the real holodeck, and what the doctor was destroying was the holodeck within the holodeck. It got a little bit confusing on the science there for a minute.
That's what I wrote down. Projection within a projection?
Right. I mean, it's totally Descartes, right? Descartes, the philosopher.
Yeah.
I guess Descartes wrote a story about a man plagued by an evil demon out to prove that he doesn't exist. And that's what he adapted this from, the demon's Barclay. And the story culminates in Descartes' famous quote, "I think, therefore I am." Yeah. So Ron Braga said this was a cross between the TNG episodes Measure of a Man and Frame of Mind. And that was the one where Riker has to decide which reality is correct. So Ron Braga bringing back things.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I could see the Measure of the Man comparison too, because how much of an individual is.
Yep.
Yeah. Apparently Dwight Schultz was up to play the Doctor in Voyager, and at one point they thought about saying that Barclay helped make the EMH, so therefore the EMH is Barclay. Like Dwight Schultz would have played him. I don't know why they decided not to. I did not see that in my reading, but they had considered when making Voyager that they'd just drop a line in the end of Next Gen that Barclay was working on holograms, and then that would set Barclay up to be. I mean, I love Bob Picardo, but it would have also been very interesting to have Dwight Schultz as a lead here playing a different character, but also kind of the same character.
Yeah.
Like a medical genius. I don't know.
Yeah. And how much would he have changed it up or?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know Dwight Schultz said that it was lovely to be invited back to Star Trek, and he really liked working on this. But this time Next Gen was done, so he probably assumed he was done with Star Trek. Yeah. I mean, they give him, like I said, they give him the cameo in the movie coming up, but then they bring him back later for Voyager more. So, yeah. Chakotay says Barclay is lying. The Doc's on the holodeck, but then Kes is his wife. Everything gets... Kes being the Doctor's wife, I thought was unrealistic. That was like a sign.
I mean...
Just like could somebody that looks like the Doctor pull somebody like her? I guess it happens, because Star Trek's fond of putting older scientists with younger ingenues, but...
Yeah, I mean, we've had the episodes where they've shown respect for each other and she's gone to bat for him and that kind of stuff. But but I was like, but she and Neelix aren't married. They're just a couple, right?
Yes, they're not married. But I think they're as good as married. They're just like, they don't have formal marriage and they're
And
culture or whatever.
I think that hit me more than even all that other stuff was like, isn't she already married or whatever? But I think it was just, I mean, if Freud would say, yeah, of course she would be in his dreams. He's fond of her. They have a good working relationship, but also, not personal. But, I guess it is personal, but not necessarily romantic. But it would make sense that she might show up in that capacity in his dream. But and then when it gets into all that, I guess our marriage is over. That's when it really starts to get crazy,
Right.
which I guess is what we're saying is like, yeah, that part's when we knew we for absolute sure this is not real. But
Oh, I do see that Bob Picardo became friends with Jonathan Frakes while filming this, and that's why Bob Picardo is going to make a cameo elsewhere in Star Trek that Frakes directs later,
okay,
outside of Voyager. So that makes sense that they formed a thing.
I feel like everybody
The
knows.
real Louis Zimmerman, played by Bob Picardo, actually is going to be on Deep Space Nine before he's on Voyager.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's fun. That's absolutely fun. I'm on Memory Alpha. I should look at Memory Alpha every week, except I feel like we could do a whole podcast just talking about like the continuity and trivia on Memory Alpha every week.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's so much here.
Yeah.
Always.
They do good stuff.
I was pleased how much Majel got to do in this episode. There was so much talking with Bob Picardo, and I'm like, they must have brought her in for like special line recordings just for this episode, which isn't normally the case.
When TNG first started and she was on there, obviously as character as well, but
Right.
yeah, it just warms me that her voice is still there this far along.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm pretty sure for Voyager, that's all she ever is the computer voice. Obviously, she plays Lexana in TNG and Deep Space Nine.
Right. But but hearing her voice as a computer, a thing that was just a lot of the stuff, the transporter beam was out of necessity, all that stuff that just kind of still with us.
The Doc wakes up out of the illusion, and Kess is there, and he says she's beautiful, and then like backtracks, and like she gets upset because he doesn't love her, and oh my god, it was a fake out. He's still in the illusion. Did you see that coming? Or did you think it was over?
No, I did not. So, like I said, that's when it starts really like ramping up, and then I thought it coming out with it's him with Janeway's voice. I'm like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. And obviously, I knew in my head, I kind of knew how much time was left in the episode, but
yeah, I kept looking because I was watching on a DVD player, so I could look down and see how far. I'm like, we're
Yeah.
41 minutes in, and now Janeway's voicing Dr. Zimmerman. What the heck?
Yeah.
But fun fact, that's actually Bob Picardo doing his voice impression of Kate Mulgrew.
Is it really?
No,
Okay, I was gonna
no,
say, you got me on that one. You got me. I was like, no.
I would have got Keith. But then we get the real Kess. Apparently, the real Kess. Do we ever know for sure? Are we ever gonna know? This won't be the first time. Or sorry, this won't be the. It is the first time. This won't be the last time Voyager like messes with our perception of what's real or not. And yeah, I remember the other one much better. But the real Kess says, "Don't tell Neelix," which is a fun bit, but also like if Neelix has such jealousy issues, I feel like that's not on the Doctor not to tell him. It's on Neelix needs to work on his jealousy issues.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Again, this is kind of the interesting, the part I get into, like when he's asking the question, why would my program focus on such an esoteric dilemma? It's like, well, that's life. That's really living life. That's where I got into like, oh yeah, do androids dream of electric sheep and all that kind of stuff. Because if you're a real person, that's the kind of stuff real people get. It's everything. It's not just that. So, and she asked the questions of she actually, Kess actually says that well sometimes I sometimes ask those kinds of questions. Who am I? What am I doing here? What's my purpose in life? Doesn't everybody? It's like, yeah, that makes total sense. And so I really enjoyed that kind of tying it back together. And then I'm the emergency medical hologram aboard the Starship Voyager. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? Now I'm just doing Tim Robinson. Are you sure about that? But
I did like him sticking his hand out the sickbay door as a test.
Yeah, I was very curious about that. Because is that the same effect they did in TNG when they would try and? Because wasn't Morty already trying to do that?
You think so?
Really
there were definitely people that fell through the door and disappeared. And yeah. So I guess that's supposed to make us think that we know for sure what's true, but really, it was trippy enough. Do you ever know for sure?
Yeah, and I will say I really thought he was going to be able to step out.
Mm,
So yeah,
that would have really mind messed with you.
as much as I didn't love the
It would
episode,
be funny if he It'd be funny if he stepped out and you're like, "Oh my God, he's still in the simulation." Then Taurus walks up and she's like, "I got the emitter installed in the hallway." You have any other notes?
just my alternate episode, which is just the MH and Tess, their sitcom as a mismatched couple. Although maybe not really, but because like I said, they do have respect for each other, and they've gone to bat for each other. But they can still have that relationship with it. Maybe it'd be a more realistic sitcom. In my head, it was like King of Queens, but it might not be that much. I mean, they're less actually. Kes and Neelix are more of the sitcom couple than Kes and EMH would be. Or I guess they're a different form. I guess EMH is because he's always seems kind of serious, but he's also kind of a little bit of the McCoy crotchetiness, but also kind of the Spock, I'm getting work done here kind of stuff. So anyway, that would be mine.
Okay. Well, let's get to the rankings then. Who was your annoyance this week?
Holodecks projections. But my inspiring is going to kind of be the same answer. So or similar.
So I put my annoyance was the Doctor because as much as I liked him, I didn't find him annoying overall. But there was definitely a part where it got annoying, where he was just like driving me crazy, driving himself crazy. So it's not that I didn't enjoy his performance; it did.
Sure.
I mean, I also put him for my inspiring character because of him finding his all of that philosophy and like personality and self-awareness and all that. So I put him for inspiring.
My inspiring is actually Picardo, as I mentioned earlier. I really liked him in the episode. I share some of your reasons for the Doctor being annoying, but I don't blame Picardo for that. But so
no.
He's my inspiring.
I get why he was so set on testing the limits of the world before blowing up the ship. It's good that he did, but it started to get annoying. It's like, come on, dude, just make a decision one way or the other.
Yep.
Who are you having a drink with?
I gotta get that gossip from Kes. What's going on down there in that sick bay?
I mean, I'm going out with Barclay. I can't wait to tell him what happened to something he helped create, or had he been real, and after saving Zimmerman, that would have needed a drink too. So either way, I'm having a drink with Barclay.
He still has those pervy holodeck programs he used to have.
All the more reason to hang out with him. No, I'm kidding. No, they shut those down. Ranking the episode, this is where we might have trouble without Keith or Shane to weigh in.
Yeah.
I mean, would you go above Initiations for sure?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you go above the 37s?
As is often the case, going in, I would have said no way. But the more we talked about it, and I talked about some of the things I did like, it's a little closer for me. So I think I might end up going above 37s as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
wouldn't have thought that going into the conversation, but as we went through it, like I said, sometimes I'm like, I don't know about this. But it's like, well, I like this scene, and I like this, and I like this. Okay, you know what? Yeah.
Well, the existential crisis stuff was really interesting. The self-awareness and all of that stuff was really good. And the 37s, we had that stupid thing where Amelia's like, nope, I'm going to stay here and not explore the galaxy. You're like, what?
That's true, too.
So, yes, I would also rank it number 1.
Yep.
So it's unanimous. We don't have to get into fisticuffs or say things that we'll regret and get us pulled off the air.
I came around. Not an episode I hated for sure. So I don't think I'm with it. Again, I think it's the best episode of the season so far. But yeah, I don't know. It's one that I go down in the annals for me as a great one. But still, the fact that we were able to have a good conversation about it, and like I said, this happens sometimes. Like, well, I guess I did like this. Or sometimes we talk and I'm like, you know what, this episode did suck. But I think that's okay. I think it's good to be open to conversation.
Well, I hope that you like the other Barclay episodes down the road better. Because, anyway. Voyager, next week, we are going to stay with Voyager for 5 episodes in a row before Deep Space Nine comes back. Okay. Next one is Elogium, I don't know, Elogium. Voyager encounters, right? Yeah, that can mean anything. What that is. Voyager encounters a swarm of mysterious life forms as a strange effect on the ship's key operating system, and whose presence accelerates Kes's reproductive cycle. So it's a Kes episode.
Hey,
And apparently
I'm
she doesn't
interested.
eat. She's all sweaty in the picture on IMDb. So
All right, hey, I'm still interested.
I don't need a Kess episode, but as I'm flipping through the photos on IMDb, I see the doctor massaging her feet. So we'll see how that.
We're gonna
We'll see what
continue
that.
with Yeah.
About. Anyway, until then, live long.
If you're actually alive, and ask yourself, am I alive? And prosper.
It's All Been Done presents
Who's got the time?